Hi, I'm Lisa Joya with Backward Glances. I'm here at WWDBTV, and I have a very special guest today. His name is Rich Friedland. Welcome to the show,
where is
Rich.
he? I don't see him anywhere. Nice to see you, Lisa.
This is so great.
It's been so long.
Yeah, it's been so great to have known you all these years. What I found interesting by perusing your website is that Rich styles himself as an adventurer, dreamer, builder, collector, creator, journalist, interviewer, bass guitarist. Am I saying bass or is it bass? Bass guitarist,
bass is perfect, yeah.
Keyboardist, songwriter, comedian, prankster, MC, showman, producer, and awful singer. What's this all about? This is great. Exactly which one of these do you identify with?
The awful singer to the most.
The awful singer.
I love to sing, I love to write, I love to perform, but nobody wants to hear me.
That's great. Well, before we get into your career and your life here in Las Vegas, I'd like to learn a little bit more about your early life. Where were you born, and what kind of childhood did you have?
Well, I was born in San Francisco, lived there most of my life before I moved to Las Vegas. Had a great childhood, a wonderful family. Went to school in the Bay Area, and I went to college there a little bit too. Just took music and telecommunication classes mainly there. And so it was, I won't say I was well adjusted, but maybe that's why I'm in entertainment. I don't know.
Siblings and
certainly. I've got a brother, and I've got another half brother and two half sisters as well.
Nice extended family.
Yes, They're all living in the Bay Area.
Okay, mom and dad still too?
My mother lives here in Las Vegas.
Okay.
And my father passed.
Okay, all right. So you said you went into telecommunications. Did you have educational goals that brought you to the work that you're doing today?
Well, you know, when I started college, my major was telecommunications and also psychology as well. But then I got into music more after that, and I don't know what really got me into show business, except since I was 10 years old watching Jack Benny on TV, I knew that that's what I wanted to do, was to be a comedian. It's all I wanted to do. And then I wanted to be a singer. My mother says, "Oh, you can't do that because your eyes are blue and the lights will blind you. You won't be able to be on stage." So that was the end of that. So then I told them, okay, then I just want to be a baseball player. My parents said, "Well, no, because you don't apply yourself and you're not very well coordinated." And I go, "Well, there goes my dreams." So I decided that on my own, I'm going to do what I want to do. And I did get into comedy and music and magic and all kinds of other
Was that
things.
up in San Francisco area?
Yeah, originally it all was, yeah.
All right, so how did you find your way here to Las Vegas?
Southwest Airlines.
Comedian.
It's real easy. Okay. No.
You're such a comedian. I should have known better.
Well, the whole thing is that I was developing a game show when I was in the Bay Area. I mean, I'd already been in music and other things up there, but I wanted to have a game show.
And what year might this be?
Around 1995-ish, I think, is when I thought of the idea of a show called The Fame Game. And I started building the props and developing the show. And I realized that it was a Las Vegas-y type show. It wasn't going to fit into the Bay Area. So I knew that if I'm going to be able to perform, I'm going to have to come to Las Vegas. And that was no problem because I love Vegas.
Did you spend some time?
Yeah, I did. I had an apartment here for a couple of years while I was living in the Bay Area. But once I started developing the Fame Game, I moved down here full time. And I ended up later, getting an apartment and then buying a house and all those kinds of things.
So when I met you was kind of like those in the 90s, like that. We were both members of what they used to call the Las Vegas Media Group or the Old Timers Club.
That's right.
Okay, and so I met you, it was at the Plaza.
You remember that? Okay,
of course
yes.
I do, yeah.
That was before the Media Group lunch, yeah.
Yeah, and you were doing the Fame Game at that time, I believe.
Yes,
right?
I was.
Yeah.
That's how I met you at the Plaza.
Yeah? So tell us a little bit about the Fame Game, and are you still operating that show?
No, the answer is no, I'm not operating it anymore. It's all set up in my living room. If I have guests over, we can play the Fame Game, but I don't do it on stage anymore.
Okay.
For several years, I had different casts in the show. It was a musical comedy game show, and we would do it throughout different, like casinos, lots of times for their slot tournaments and things like that we would get hired for. So it was like a TV type game show. We had all kinds of games that I devised and built the props for, which can all be seen on my website,
Okay.
by the way. And anyway, so we were performing this. I had some really talented people in the show. Amongst them would be Michaelina Bellamy, who is no longer with us. She was a singer, and she was also one of the hostesses in the show. And Linda Angeline, who looked just like Michaelina Bellamy, so it was great having them together, and they sang so beautifully together. And Ray Stribe, Crazy Ray Stribe, great guitarist, singer,
I love that
comedian.
you're providing these.
Oh, these are like my idols.
Yeah.
Everybody I've ever worked with and every band or show I've ever had or been in, I've always hired people that were more talented than me. And that helped me bring my game up, because I'm not great at anything, but I've hired people that are. And so it's really wonderful working with them, and it's helped me along the way. And those three that I just mentioned are three of the people that helped me the most.
Wow, that's great.
Thank
That's
you.
great.
Yeah.
So what other type shows or programs or performances are you doing today?
Well, today I'm in a band called R&R Express.
Okay.
A friend of mine, Rick Kelly, who I was in bands with back in the 1970s, first two bands I was ever in, we were in together with, other people. And then I ended up moving to Las Vegas. He was a professional musician in the Bay Area. And then he decided to move to Vegas about a year and a half ago. And I said, "You're going to move to Vegas, and you're going to buy a house here. But what about your? He was in a duo. That's how he made a living." I said, "What are you going to do? Are you bringing Jay? That was his partner down here to Vegas with you?" And he says, "No." He goes, I said, "But you don't even know anybody here. What are you going to do for a living?" He goes, "I have a partner in Vegas." I go, "Since when? You don't know anybody in Vegas." He says, "Yeah, his name's Rich Friedland." I said, "What?" He says, "Yeah, you're going to be the bass player and the keyboard player, and you're going to do some singing." I said, "Are you sure you want to do that?"
Didn't you read I'm an awful singer?
Yeah, right. Well, he already knew that. So anyway, I said I'd be honored to do it. So we've been working together, did a lot of rehearsing, and then we started doing gigs only a few months ago here
And where
in
are
town.
you playing?
Well, right now, we don't have anything solid booked right now, but we just did Paris last month.
Okay.
And we did a place called Tiki de Amore, which is right behind the Cafe de Amore on Tropicana, West Trop.
Okay.
And we did a retirement home recently. We did a golf course in Summerlin. And we did the, what's the name of that? Can't think of it. Anyway, we've done a few
Well,
things.
good. Well, here's a question for you.
Yeah.
I mean, Las Vegas has changed so much since you first got here,
Oh,
right?
yeah, sure.
How are you finding venues to play? How do you promote yourself? What's the difference between when you first got here to how things are today?
It's a big difference, like you said.
Yeah.
As far as working today in the entertainment industry, which is what I do on the side, I already have a business of my own that supports me. But entertainment, as much as I love, and I'd rather do that, but it's real hard to get bookings, especially today. But when Rick asked me to join, which became R&R Express, the first thing I said to him was, I said, "I would love to work with you again, but one of the conditions is I'm not going to be doing any booking. I've been there, done that for years with my shows and bands that I've had." And I said, "I don't do that anymore." He says, "Oh, that's no problem." He goes, "I love doing that." I said,
Okay.
"Well, then we're a match here." So he pounds the pavement, and he makes the phone calls, and he's been able to get some things. He's got something lined up for us somewhere. I forgot the name of it. So he gets things going, but it's very challenging right now in the post-COVID days that we're in right now.
Okay.
A lot of things have shut down, slowed down. So we're just starting to get in there a little bit now.
Okay. What kind of music is R&R
Well,
Express?
okay. Mostly rock, 60s and 70s and 80s rock.
Good stuff.
And originals. We do some of my songs as well.
And we'll provide some of that, a couple of little snippets.
Okay,
for
well,
the
that would be
audience,
great.
which
If
would
you
be
want, you
great.
think you can keep your viewers that way? But okay, that sounds good to me.
Okay.
Yeah. So we do a variety of music. Like I say, I do some backup vocals. I do some lead vocals. But I'm really hoarse these days, so I sing even worse than I did before. And but I do a lot of backup vocals though. With Rick does most of the singing, and we just added. We were a duo for a while. We just added a drummer just recently,
Okay.
and he's terrific. His name's Brian Smith, and well, he brought our game up a lot when we started working with him. So there's 3 of us now in the band.
So all the other things that I kind of mentioned that
Yeah.
you kind of call yourself or style yourself as,
Yeah.
what other things of this are you working on? Are you, like a journalist, are you writing? Are you interviewing? What kind of other things are you
Well,
doing?
I did have a couple of columns in remember Boots Van Horn by any chance? Okay, he had a publication called The Vegan for many years here in Las Vegas.
Right.
And he and I met, and he said he wanted me to be a columnist for it, and he gave me 2 columns in every issue for a couple of years. One of them was called Seeing Stars, where I would interview celebrities.
Oh, tell us
which I
about
loved.
that.
Oh yeah, I interviewed the amazing Jonathan. I interviewed, oh my God, my mind's drawing a blank. Roy Clark. It was quite an honor to work with him or to interview him.
That's okay. If the audience is interested, they could look up probably
Yeah,
archives of
there's a
the
lot of them.
Vegan.
There's a lot of them.
Yeah.
Most of them they probably are very familiar with, probably more so than I am right this minute. But so I was doing that for a couple of years, and I also had a column in there called Oppostats, which were, it was, I won't say trivia, they were stats and facts that aren't exactly what you wouldn't think they weren't.
Okay.
Which means a lot of common things that we've heard all of our life that I found were not true. Like they say, lightning never strikes twice in the same place. That's not true. Or they say there's never been 2 snowflakes alike. That's not true. So I have a whole column, I mean, thousands and thousands of facts, and I was doing quizzes about things like that in one of those columns.
Which reminds me of when you and I were with the Las Vegas Media Group.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
were our MC, and you kind of ran the show and helped us along. And you did some trivia stuff, which was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
What are your memories of the Las Vegas Media Group? Because I miss it.
Oh, I do too.
I miss it like crazy.
Oh my God, it was-
We used to have some really great names, people that made the history of Las Vegas. They were our guest speakers.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Well, I was the host of that for about 13 years, even before you came along, if you can believe that. And yeah, I was like right near the beginning. They asked me, some of the photographers that put it together, because it was originally a photography group.
Right.
And they asked me to host it. And I don't know anything about photography, but they said, don't worry, just get up there and talk. And I said, okay, I'll do that. And so I did that for a while. And the memories I have were people like Frank Matrani.
Frank Matrani is one of the co-founders of this amazing organization, and if I can, I want to bring him on board.
Oh, I think that's wise.
I know.
I like that
But he
idea.
doesn't live in town anymore, so it's
No.
going to be tough. But
No, he's in
Frank,
Canocti, right? And then, of course, there was Don Payne, and some of the earlier people that brought me
Thalia
aboard.
Dondero.
Oh yeah, oh absolutely.
I know, and we
Thalia
miss
Dondero was there till the very, very, very
I
end.
know, I
yes, she
know.
was. Yeah, there were great times. I enjoyed it because, like you said, I did some trivia. I got to host it. I got to talk and little contests and things like that. Had a lot of fun with
But
that.
most what it was just the camaraderie of people. Like you said, it started as the old photographers from the news media.
Right.
Then it expanded because people were saying, hey, I want to join. And so it became this collective of people that made history in Las Vegas, documented the history, and just loved the history
Oh,
of Las
yeah.
Vegas.
Can't forget Court Proctor. He sure livened things up, didn't he?
Yep. He should. And
Yeah.
Nelson Sardelli.
Oh, yeah,
And yeah, we had a
absolutely.
lot of great. I just remember Thalia brought in Tony Curtis. And I
yeah.
got to meet Tony Curtis, and he got to be there. It was really great.
Yep.
But those days are kind of over now. I mean, as we talked earlier, because we've been in Las Vegas for so long, it's kind of a small town for us.
Sure.
But what do you think of it like today?
Well, it's not the same as it was.
Yeah.
But I used to let that bother me because I still love this town. I love it for its history, and I'm not much of a gambler except betting on sports. I like to do that, but I don't ever go into a casino and play slot machines or anything like that. Although I used to be a professional blackjack player at one time. But that was many years ago when the game was beatable. It's very difficult to beat now.
Really?
Yeah. But no, I just love it. I love going to shows. I just love it.
What are some of that are here in Las Vegas that people should go and see?
Oh, I'd say Love, the Beatles show.
Of course.
over
I
at the
took my
Mirage.
brother, who is a huge Beatles fan, I took him to that.
Oh yeah, it's priceless. I love seeing entertainers that come to town. Like I saw John Cleese over at the Venetian speaking. That was a thrill for me because he's one of my idols from Monty Python. And I went and saw Van Morrison over at Caesar's Palace. And whenever somebody comes to town that I like, I get in there and I see them if I can. And that's one of the beautiful things about Las Vegas. If there's an entertainer out there you want to see, just wait. They'll be here eventually.
Okay.
You get lots of opportunities here.
Well, Rich, you're such a creative person. Do you
Thank you.
find the fact that you opened yourself up to be so creative and flexible, did you find that that is kind of like the reason you are successful as an entertainer and are still actually wanted and, you know, having shows here in town?
Well, I mean, I tried different types of shows. Like one of the shows I had was completely different from anything else anybody that I ever heard of did. It was called the Jerk Prankers, where we got up on stage. I had, people with me, partners, and we got up on stage and we made phone calls that the audience could hear.
Oh my
and they
gosh.
would feed us a phone number in advance and a person's name and write down on a little card a little bit about what might embarrass them or anything. And we would make these phone calls to them and different voices and disguise our, and change our names and things. And the audience got a kick out of that.
Really?
Yeah, there's stuff on my website about that as well.
Yeah.
I'm slowly adding things to the website.
Okay.
Fame Game Show. No, that's not the name of it. It's offbeatrich.com.
Yes, www.offbeatrich.com.
Exactly.
Because I've checked it out. I see that you have a lot of characters on there.
Yeah, and I'm adding more. I've got a lot that aren't on there yet. As I say, there's about 20 chapters on there. Half of them are under construction, but I'm going to be adding and adding and adding to that. But yeah, I do a lot of characters, a lot of voices.
What are some of the inspirations for those characters?
Well, I used to do, I had a character named Professor Quay, which was a mad scientist who did comedy magic, completely inspired by Jerry Lewis and the Nutty Professor movies.
Yes, exactly.
And those are the movies before Eddie Murphy did the Nutty Professor. Jerry Lewis originally wrote and produced and starred in
And
those
you've
movies.
met Mr. Jerry One
I certainly have. One of the thrills of my life.
Okay.
Yes.
So you have some great characters on there, and I hope you keep them alive and going.
Oh yeah. In fact, I'm thinking about reviving the Jerk Prankers at this time, and I do plan to bring in some of the characters that I've created,
Perfect.
and probably some new ones as well. So
Very good.
yeah, lots of fun. Yeah.
Well, we're going to hold that, and we're going to take a little bit of a commercial break and make a little bit of money, hopefully, to keep the show on the road.
Sounds like a plan to me.
All right. Thank you.
Ever wonder why some other guy gets all the chicks? Ever wonder why some other guy is always the life of the party? Ever wonder why some other guy is having all the fun? Ever wish you could be that other guy? Well, now you can be with the Dan DePaola trombone method.
Hi, I'm Dan DePaola, and I've been to countless parties and events, and I know what brings good times and chicks. The trombone. With my method, your calendar will never be empty again.
You'll learn to play the songs that will keep you and your friends knee-deep in good times and broads. Songs like Sir Duke, I Feel Good, Knock 3 Times, Hot Stuff, Celebration, Pick Up the Pieces, The Hustle, and of course, Tequila. For a single payment of only $49.99, you get a trombone, the method book, and an accompanying music CD. But wait, if you order in the next 15 minutes, you'll get this official Dan DePaola autographed photo absolutely free. The Dan DePaola trombone method. Create music, make friends, set the mood.
And we're back once again with Rich Friedland, and he's going to talk a little bit more about some of the shows that he is in progress working on and what he envisions for some of the future.
Okay. In progress working on is just right now R&R Express.
Okay.
In the past, I've done, as I mentioned, Professor Quay, Comedy Magic, Jerk Prankers I mentioned, The Fame Game I mentioned. Been in a lot of bands like Zodiac Dragon and trying to think of Las Vegas bands. That would be it besides R&R Express.
Okay.
Other bands I was in, like the Friday Nights and Zeus, those were in California, and Best of Both Worlds. So I did make a living doing music.
You've made it doing a lot of entertainment, and like I said, you're so creative. And I understand that you brought a little compilation of some of the work that you have done in the past,
I did.
And that will give us a little bit of information. And so why don't we take a look at some of those?
That sounds great. Looking forward to it.
I was a baby, or perhaps a tiny tot. I suppose I could have been 18, any older, likely not. I had an old transistor, slept with it in me ear. The ditty I kept hearing was inspiring yet unclear. Oh, boom, barele, spear. Sing it with your neighbor and raise your glass of cheer. Boom, barele, stein. If ale ain't your poison, then pop another wine. The more I listened to the tune, the less I knew I know. But that's the way it's meant to be, or at least I'm thinking so.
When the Bobcats visiting town, you never know when we're gonna be round. Show us you like us and the sound by bobbing around.
Hey everybody, we're still the Bobcats.
Howling, meowing, running around, playing places we're not allowed. You too can be proud of the sound when you bobbing around.
She's my tiki-leaky lady. Yeah, my tiki-leaky pal. Oh, the tiki-leaky baby. Touch the tiki-leaky gal, 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 gal.
Here I'm walking by, trying to catch his eye. Okay. What's wrong with this guy? Maybe he's just shy. Okay.
Go for it, and I go for it, and I go for it.
That was great.
Oh, thank you.
That was
Appreciate
terrific.
that
Thank
very
you.
much.
No, you know, I find you very talented.
Thank
And,
you.
you know, this awful singer thing, stop that. You know, you're entertaining the people. Well, what else
Okay.
should we talk about here? One of the things that I found, because I've been here since 1987, how has Las Vegas changed? We talked a little bit about how hard it is to possibly book things. And
Yeah.
but in your overall view, how has Las Vegas changed? Is it for the good or for the better, or is it just what it is?
From an entertainer standpoint, I'd say it's not very good anymore.
Okay.
Okay.
You mean an entertainer that is struggling to get their foot in the door, or
Well,
because
yeah.
for these big name entertainers?
Both, really.
Okay.
I can remember when I used to come to Las Vegas, just before I moved here, you would drive down the Strip and there'd be George Burns at Caesar's Palace, the Everly Brothers at the Desert Inn. I mean, big names were on the marquees everywhere. Now, if there's a big name, they might be here for a day or two, and then they're out of town.
Okay.
They don't usually last too long. There are exceptions, of course, but there's a lot. It's not like it was. And then for like lounge entertainers, which I was for, off and on for years, they've replaced a lot of the lounges in the casinos with slot machines.
Okay.
I can remember going to Las Vegas before I moved here, and if you wanted to see entertainment, you could go into any casino practically on the Strip, morning, noon, or night, and you could see live bands performing. And when I say bands, I mean show bands. That means they didn't just play music. They did comedy, and they had, a lot of banter between each other that was pre-rehearsed but seemed spontaneous. They worked the room. They had involved the audience. It was real, true Las Vegas lounge show band entertainment. That's hard to find now, if you can find it at all.
Okay.
And if you do find it, it's usually just on Fridays and Saturday nights at very few casinos. It isn't everywhere like it was
Las
before.
Vegas is expanding so much, and
Yeah.
so I guess we're kind of saying it's a little sad that we've lost that kind of intimacy.
I believe it's very sad.
Okay.
It's just not what it was before.
Okay.
I mean, I understand, again, I don't really gamble in casinos, but I understand that you don't even get free drinks when you gamble anymore.
Oh, dear.
unless
Okay.
they've been tracking you and watching exactly how much you're spending and making sure you lost a big percentage of that, then maybe you can have a Bloody Mary.
Okay.
Otherwise, forget it.
All right. But
Yeah.
you say you still love Las Vegas.
Oh, I do. I do. I mean, I love the weather too. I love everything about it. I love the nightlife, even though I don't really do much of that. But it's nice to be able to go out for a drink or go out
Good,
for
yeah.
a nice dinner.
There's so many choices here.
Oh yeah, yeah. I
Sometimes
don't.
it's a little overwhelming, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's sure. You could eat a different meal every day of the year for breakfast and then lunch and then dinner and not see everything and not experience all of the different restaurants. We are the restaurant capital of the world in addition to being the entertainment capital of the world. So it's quite a city. I'm not trying to take anything away from it. As I said, I think it's still wonderful.
Right. It's just changed.
It's just changed.
It's
exactly
just changed,
right.
and we got to see that evolution
Yep.
of change since we've been here, which
Yep.
is very interesting.
Absolutely. I remember seeing them implode casinos like the
know.
Landmark and the Hacienda and the Sands.
Yep.
And these broke my heart, not just my heart, broke a lot of people's
Yeah.
hearts, because we have so many memories of those places. Even if the memory is losing our paycheck, we still have memories.
Right, exactly.
And it's not quite the same. I remember going into casinos many times and seeing celebrities there that were just walking around or gambling. You don't expect these
The
types
very
of
first time I came to a casino, I saw Diana Ross playing blackjack, and she was totally surrounded. I was like, oh my gosh,
Wow.
there's Diana Ross.
Wow.
Yeah, so I mean, it was kind of small back then, and it's changed, but everything changes, and we move forward. And
Well, yeah. I mean, I remember one time sitting at a blackjack table and not realizing there was one other person at the table playing there too, not even noticing. I looked over, it was Bill Cosby. These are the types of things that were
Right.
not unusual. I
Right.
had nice conversations with people like Jim Neighbors and stuff that
That's great.
were just strictly by accident. And then you get into a nice talk with these people. And one thing I've learned about entertainers from working with them, but also interviewing them or even bumping into them, how nice almost every one of them are. They're just regular people like anybody else.
Absolutely.
And I really, really, really enjoyed that. Yeah.
well, I'm hoping that whatever your next adventure is or venture, you are going to be a huge success, because you've got the drive, the passion and the creativity and the talent. So I just want you to know that.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that, Lisa. You mentioned what am I working on today? Besides R&R Express,
Yeah.
as I had mentioned briefly, I'm thinking about bringing back the Jerk Prankers. Maybe having a channel, perhaps here.
I don't know if you answer the phone anymore. If
Well,
they don't
you're
recognize
right
the
about
number.
that. However, they just brought the TV show Crank Yankers back, which started, which resumed last night with Jimmy Kimmel and all them, Jimmy Kimmel and all those. And there, if you call stores, they answer the phone.
Okay.
So you can get your laughs that way.
Yeah.
You know, hotels answer the phone, and so on and so on. So there are still ways to do it. But calling people at their home, you're right. They're
not answering the phone
No,
anymore.
and I don't blame them because there's too many people like me calling them. Yes.
Well, I just wish you the best of luck, Rich, and I can't wait to see what your next thing
Well,
is.
thank you, Lisa. And I got to say, what a pleasure it is seeing you again.
Yeah.
It's been all these years.
Yeah, it's been a
and
while.
you look wonderful, just like you did before.
Oh, thank you. I'm so
Yeah.
happy to have this opportunity to be able to meet some of my old friends and meet some new ones and
Yeah.
kind of share their contribution to Las Vegas and to the historical record altogether, and that's basically what this is.
Yeah. And another little bit of trivia,
Yep.
if you don't mind me saying so. Probably before you and I met, I was dating your daughter, Adrienne.
Yeah, little
Many
bit of
years ago.
Yeah, before we met, and then I don't know if you said I looked familiar because my daughters look a lot like me.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Somehow we made that connection.
Yes.
So I can't wait to have my daughter see this.
Oh, well, tell her I said hello, too.
Absolutely.
She's
absolutely.
wonderful. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, and I'm looking forward to hearing about your successes.
Thank you, Lisa. I appreciate
Okay.
it.